like to welcome everyone for coming here in support of our veterans and military families. I have learned over the years that each veteran processes this day in their own way. But rest assured that your presence here today is greatly appreciated in honoring our veterans. If I could share a quick quote by George Washington, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive how the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation." In short, what this means to me is that to get the best of our young men and women to serve, we must give our best. Assure them that no matter what happens, they will be supported. And in my 18 years in this role, we have always strived to achieve that goal. I can attest that, I was concerned that we might not be able to make this event shine. And recently I had a small injury, and I was very impressed how everyone in the city came together and really greatly appreciated. I would like to acknowledge Juan Carlos from the Veterans Office and Grace Agosto from the City Manager's Office for their special efforts towards this event. Also Tracy Nowicki, who stepped in after recently assuming her role as HHS Director, for her support and leadership in bringing it all together. Special thanks to the school department, City Council for their continued support for our veterans. This event and the Office of Veteran Services could not support our veterans effectively without your support. And that includes obviously our fearless city manager, Fidel. I'd also like to recognize that Senator DiDomenico is here today. Also, Representative Judith Garcia. Various members of our City Council. Got Kelly Garcia. Lisa Sandegate, Melinda Vega, right? I got it? Thank you. I know Leo Robinson, I saw him earlier. Thank you so much. And Councilor Todd Taylor. Well, and Councilor Calvin Brown. And our Superintendent of Schools, Alvia Veda. This is a great venue. I can't believe the amount of preparation everyone took to make this. It's definitely a whole other level. Thank you so much for everyone who participated. I'd also like to recognize that the superintendent of the Chelsea Soldiers, or Veterans Home now, Christine Baldini is here. Thank you. And her deputy is also with us today. In in those goals of trying to support our veterans as best as possible, it's the teamwork that makes it effective. And I can't reiterate more, whether it's the chief of police, I'm sorry, the chief of police, not captain, chief of police, or the chief of fire, or the director of 911, DPW. Without everyone participating together, this definitely could have not have happened. And I'm greatly appreciative of everyone who took part in this. I also want to mention that yesterday was the Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. Go Devil Dogs. That's the 249th birthday. So we're talking about a great tradition. We have a unique presentation here today, and I would like to I welcome you all and thank you. And I would like to call forth the Chelsea Police Department Honor Guard. For the singing of the national anthem. Please stand. Thank you for that. And now we will do the convocation, and I'm calling for Pastor Kayla Velez.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here in this day, special day. We are here to honor those that have been serving in our country and are actively serving our country. Today we want to honor all the women and men that are here today, all those that are not actually present physically, but they are actively present in our hearts. To all of them, we say thank you. When I think about the work that they have done for our country, for our families, reminds me of the words that Jesus said to his disciples. There is no greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. Let us remember in our prayers today what they have been doing, what they are actively doing, fulfilling God's purpose for their lives. For He's the one that put in their hearts to do the work that they have been doing. That was God's design, and they're submitting to that desire and will of God. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come as it is in heaven. Father, this morning we come before you, recognizing all the men and women that have been serving in our country in many different ways. Thank you for their lives. Thank you for what they have been doing, what they have done because of their courage and dedication. We ask you to continue giving them strength, courage, protection, and faith to fulfill their assignment, whatever they are. May your love be their model to follow every day. We also ask you, may your will be done in every one of us, in each assignment that you have given us on this earth. May we fulfill your purpose on this earth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Velez of the United of Chelsea. I'm happy to be here today. My name is Tracy Nowicki. I am the new Director of Health and Human Services for the City of Chelsea. I'm going to act as your MC as well. I just wanted to thank again people who are here today to support our veterans, city officials, city employees, Chelsea Police, Chelsea Fire, former city councilors, veterans, Stanley Teresi. Thank you for your support. The city manager had a crucial role in putting this together, so thank you, Fidel Maltez. We appreciate that. Grace Augusto again, thank you. Lily Martin of the Executive Office. Elder Services is here today. The Chelsea Chamber of Commerce is here today. Thank you for your support. B. Cravata, and many more. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just wanted to recognize how fitting it is to have this event here at what is newly called the Morris H. Siegel Clark Ave School. Morris Siegel was a champion for Chelsea's children. He served as an educator for years, many, many years, and also on the school committee. So again, it's very fitting to have the event here. In his spirit, he's happy that we are here and the school is named after him. To introduce our next speaker, since joining the Chelsea Public School System in 2019 and coming from a family with deep educational legacy, I am happy to introduce to you a pioneer in urban education and everyone's favorite person, Chelsea Public School Superintendent Almy Abeyta.
Welcome everyone to our beautiful Morris Siegel School. It is one of I call it our little gem here in Chelsea. And so thank you. It is always an honor and a pleasure to be here on this day. I hold the military and our veterans in my heart because I am the daughter of a veteran of 22 years, and my dad is here, Max Fajardo, or Eliseo, and he served this country for 22 years, and as a result of that, I moved around everywhere. And I was just sitting there talking to another veteran, he's like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, well, that's a complicated question because I moved around a lot. So I don't know where I'm from, but I will say Albuquerque is where my dad stayed the most and retired, so that's where I say I'm from, Albuquerque, New Mexico. But the military as a young child growing up with a military father, I remember living on foreign soil. And as a result of living on foreign soil in my middle school years, the fact that I was an American became very real to me. I have memories of just being so proud of being an American on foreign soil and living my middle school years in Madrid, Spain, and just the pride that I had as being a U.S. citizen and being part of this country. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you to all of our veterans who have served. I can't thank you enough for your dedication. I know you've lost many loved ones as well. And we thank you. Thank you for your service. And are there any spouses of the veterans out there? Any wives? Yes, thank you for your service. Oftentimes we forget the spouses, the partners, but the partners and the spouses give up a lot because they move around too, and oftentimes they don't have a career. And my mom, fortunately, was a teacher, so wherever we went, my mom could teach anywhere she went, but retirement wasn't so great for her. So thank you to the spouses, because I saw my mom give up a lot as well. My mom served this country as well. And again, it is such an honor to be here. I love Veterans Day and Memorial Day because we get to say thank you. So thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for giving up so much so that way we can have the freedom that we have today. So thank you so much. And I get the honor of introducing our Star Spangled singer. She is from Chelsea High School. Her name is Yuki Sanchez Gonzalez. So I'm going to turn it over to Yuki to sing our national anthem.
Please stand. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Our next speaker, who needs no introduction, but we are happy and truly honored to do so today. He is a steadfast friend and passionate advocate for veterans, including his support of a recent landmark bill, the HERO Act. This legislation will allow for enhancing benefits for veterans, modernize services, and promote inclusivity for veterans across Massachusetts. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our esteemed Senator Sal DiDomenico.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Francisco. And to all the folks that made today possible. This is quite a showing. I'm going to be bouncing around today, so I just came from Everett. I'm here now. I'm going to Cambridge after that, going to the State House after that. So excuse me if I have to sneak out the back door, but I wanted to be here today because it's important for me to show up and show our support for our veterans and their families. And when I speak at this event every year, I say the same thing in the first line. And that is that there is not a group of people anywhere in the world who has done so much for so many than a United States veteran. And I say that because you've liberated the world. You've shown that we are going to protect democracy and freedom here in the homeland, but around the globe as well. And when there are people in harm's way, and there's instability somewhere around the world, the residents of that community, when they see the U.S. flag on the shoulder of our military personnel coming down to the street, they know everything is going to be okay. Because that is what we do. That is what our veterans have done for generations. And we all know that our veterans come from all races, religions, ethnicities. They come from northern states, southern states, eastern states, western states. But they all fight for the United States. They all fight for the United States. All of that, the differences that they might have, all come together as one for one mission: to allow us to live our lives in freedom and protect democracy around the world. And as Almi said, our families also have a role in this. They are also living the military life. And back at home, when they are away from their spouse, brother, sister, mother, father, they have to pick up the mantle back at home. And many times they're missing, veterans are missing first steps, birthdays, milestones in their families' lives. And they know that sacrifice is part of the job, but it is not easy. It should not go unrecognized or unnoticed. You know, we have, as was mentioned by Tracy, we just passed a landmark piece of legislation called the HERO Act. And I'm very proud of that. But, with that being said, as long as there is one veteran who is homeless, one veteran who is food insecure, or dealing with mental health issues, or just trying to find their way back home, then our job is not done. Our job is never done until it happens. And let's make no mistake about this too, that when our military personnel come home, the trauma and the wounds of war might not be so evident. They might not always be physical. And many times there are mental health issues going on that have never been reconciled or have been something that they have to live with, not just the time coming back home, but the rest of their lives. The wounds of war do not end on the battlefield. They do not end on the battlefield. And that is why it's our responsibility to recognize that, to show our appreciation, not just in words, but action. Because we all talk about this on big holidays. But when the cameras go away, and the chairs get folded up, and we all go on our way to our own families, our responsibility to our veterans does not end. And that's why I take that responsibility so seriously. Because I know and I've seen it firsthand. And I'm going to tell you a story that I never said publicly before up until I was in Everett this morning, and I said it in Everett, but my father never wanted me to talk about this. My dad was a veteran. But he never thought he never thought that because he didn't serve that he was a true veteran, served in the time of war. He served in the Army. He was a cook. He was very proud of being a cook. He learned all of the recipes from his mom, and the officers all were grabbing him to cook for them. But he never felt like he was a true veteran because he didn't see the battlefield. So he never talked about it. He never said he was a veteran. But my dad, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so the Cuban Missile Crisis, as most of you know, could have been the end of the entire world if it had gone sideways. My dad was on the tarmac in a plane in the first wave going to Cuba. Now, we all know what the first wave means. The first wave means you're not coming home. And they knew that while they were sitting in that plane. But my dad, like everyone else in that plane, and so many more before and after him, knew that that was part of the job. Putting your life on the line for your country. So my dad never served in the battlefield. But he's willing to put his life on the line for his country when it mattered the most. That is a hero. My dad is my hero. And he is a veteran. He is a veteran in every sense of the word. So whether you serve in the battlefield or not, you are a veteran and a hero to all of us sitting here and around our country because you were willing to sacrifice your life for all of us who are sitting here today. And that is why today is so special. And that is why today is a day that we honor our veterans. But, as I said, it is not the end of the work to be done for our veterans. So I thank you very much for your support of veterans in this community. We have a tremendous police force and fire department, and who always support our veterans, and Fidel and all the city councilors and members of the school committee, and Almy, our great superintendent. In Chelsea, we don't just teach English, math, and science. In Chelsea, we also teach patriotism. We teach patriotism. And that's why this community is so special to me and to so many, and do not take this for granted. Do not take this for granted. Chelsea is here, as they always are, in support of our veterans, and that will never change. So thank you very much, everyone. God bless America, and God bless our veterans.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker started her journey of advocacy work as a Chelsea City Councilor. Judith Garcia has been another champion for our veterans. That commitment only grew stronger when she took office in the House of Representatives. Another strong supporter of the landmark HERO Act legislation, she continues to fight for the issues that matter most in our community. Please join me in welcoming one of my favorite people and dear friend, Representative Judith Garcia.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. What a great day to be here. It is an honor for me to be here on behalf of the State House of Representatives. It is also a great honor to be here with also a champion of our community, our senator. We've been able to work together on the HERO Act and support our veterans that way. But I think today it's important to acknowledge the veterans who are here, who have served, the veterans of Chelsea who are abroad serving. And it is also important to acknowledge the veterans who have passed, giving their life and the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the parents who are here supporting the children who, even though it's a day off from school, they are here to support our veterans. Thank you so much for all you do. I think the senator covered the great work that we as elected officials have done in order to support our veterans with the HERO Act. But today, I want to focus my remarks on a greater message for our community as a whole. Last week, I had the great honor to spend some time with our veterans at the Soldiers' Home with Senator Lydia Edwards, as it was our celebration for Veterans Day there. And every time I go there and spend time with our veterans, I learn something new. So today, I will take a brief moment to read to you a fragment of the Cadets' Prayer. This is the West Point Cadet Prayer that I think we can all learn something from. Oh God, help us to come to you with honesty and an open heart. May our faith bring us joy, and may our worship feel natural and true. Give us strength to value honesty and clear thinking, and help us never to tolerate hypocrisy or dishonesty. Guide us to choose the harder right over the easier wrong, and to seek the whole truth, not just part of it. Fill us with the courage and loyalty to all that is good, and help us stand strong for truth and justice.
Keep us from being careless or disrespectful toward the sacred things in life. Bless us with new friendships and chances to serve others. Make us compassionate toward those who are sad or struggling. Help us to uphold the honor of the corpse and live by West Point's ideals, faithfully serving you and our country. This prayer that was shared to me has very, very strong messages for the community as a whole. So I challenge every single one of you. You don't have to be an elected official. You don't have to be the department head or the boss or a veteran to do the right thing. Our veterans have sacrificed so much. Many of them live by this prayer, and we all have the duty to be a proud American, because many of our veterans have given their life and their time to make sure that we have the freedoms that we enjoy today. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you learn as much as I did. Thank you very much.
Now introducing Chelsea High School student Joslani Peters to read the Governor's Proclamation.
Whereas, since the Commonwealth's earliest days, thousands of men and women have served our country for freedom and liberty. And whereas, on November 11, 1918, after 4 years of conflict, the armistice was signed in the Forest of Compiègne by Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. And whereas, since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas, in November 2024, the world would commemorate the 106th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m. November 11, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts. And whereas, in recognition of the sacrifices made by those who have served our great nation, Massachusetts remains committed to supporting the veteran community through the HERO Act, honoring, empowering, and recognizing our service members and veterans. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country. And whereas we honor and salute those who have served our country throughout generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts residents remember the bravery of those who have served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2024 to be Veterans Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Thank you.
Sorry. Our next speaker, here to give the greetings of the City of Chelsea, our fearless leader, one of our biggest supporters in all that we do, municipal government, services. His support is unwavering. Please welcome City Manager Fidel Maltez.
Thank you so much for everyone for coming today. I also wanted to acknowledge the members of our school committee who are here with us. Ms. Mayra Valderas, Ms. Mayra, and Ms. Clarice Clovas Carballo. Thank you, Clarice. Our esteemed council president, unfortunately, was under the weather, but she sent remarks that I'll read to you. and then I'll read my own. She sends her apologies for not being here today due to a health issue. She wanted to share her deep respect and gratitude for our veterans and their families. And as a sister to 3 brothers actively serving our community, she admires the sacrifices of serving our country, and she admires the sacrifices of families make along the way. Veterans Day holds a special place in her heart, and as council president, she remains committed to advocating for and supporting our veterans in Chelsea. Thank you. And now I will read my remarks. Okay. Today, we gather to honor the men and women who have served in the armed forces of our community. We come together not only to recognize their sacrifices, but also, and most importantly, to reflect on what Veterans Day truly means, a day of unity. A moment for us all to pause and appreciate our shared values and to remind ourselves of the strength that we draw from each other. Veterans Day, as was mentioned earlier, began as Armistice Day to honor the millions of lives that were lost during World War I and to honor the women and men who had served. It was a day to remember the toll of war, the price of peace, and the courage it takes to stand in defense of liberty. Today, the meaning of Veterans Day has expanded, and we honor all veterans, those who have served in the battlefield and those who have not. This is a day to acknowledge their service, their courage, their sacrifices, and all the challenges that they face in service and when they return home. Yet, more than just a day of remembrance, Veterans Day is a day of active unity. It is a day for us to come together as a community to reflect on the shared ideals that makes this community strong. Veterans Day is about as much more than just the military. It is also about the values of service, of duty, and commitment to the greater good that we all share. Now, perhaps more than ever, we need this day to remind us all of our common purpose. In an era of division, it is easy to get lost in what separates us. In our differences in opinion, our differences in belief, our differences in background, and our differences in perspective. This Veterans Day is an opportunity to put those differences aside and to stand in a united cause, in a united Chelsea. Veterans, regardless of their race, their religion, their political affiliation, and at times their immigration status, have answered the call to defend these same principles. They have sacrificed, sometimes in unimaginable ways, for the values that we all hold dear. They have fought side by side, not as individuals, but as members of a larger family, the Chelsea family. In that service, they have shown us the power of unity. Today, we must ask ourselves, how can we carry that spirit of unity forward? How can we come together as a community and honor our veterans in the best way possible? To me, the answer is simple. We must embrace each other, and we must embrace the things that hold us together. We must remember that we are all part of this same community that we call Chelsea. Our veterans, past and present, have shown us the power of standing together for a common cause. Now it is our time to build upon that legacy and do the very same thing. On this Veterans Day, I urge all of us, whether we are veterans or not, to recognize the ways in which we can unite, to seek common ground in the spirit of service, in the spirit of sacrifice, and to celebrate one another, not for our differences, but for the strength that we find in our shared commitment for the greater good. Let us honor our veterans by coming together, embracing each other, and recognizing that our differences make us stronger. We are one community, one Chelsea, and today we stand united in gratitude for those who have given so much. I also want to acknowledge Olivia Walsh, who was a very strong member of this veteran community, but also a very strong member of this community as a whole. Let us remember Olivia Walsh for her legacy in Chelsea. Thank you.
Here to present and recognize the Missing Man Table, Chelsea High School student, Jana Singer.
The symbolism of the Missing Man Table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing men. The cloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to serve. The single rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the lives of the Americans and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith while seeking answers. The ribbon, the red ribbon, symbolizes our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon reminds us of their bitter fate, captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and their families who long for answers after decades of uncertainty. The lighted candle reflects our hope for their return, alive or dead. The Bible represents the strength gained through the faith to sustain us, and those lost for our country, founded as one nation under God. The glass is inverted, symbolizing our inability to share a toast. The chair is empty. The seat that remains unclaimed at the table.
As your MC, I'm truly excited to have the honor of introducing our guest speaker, a visionary, a courageous leader, and a tireless advocate for social justice. Dr. Imari K. Paris Jeffries' remarkable journey began in a family with a military legacy. Carrying that sense of duty, he served with distinction in the U.S. Army from 1991 to 1996. His 5 years of service laid the foundation for his lifelong commitment to leadership, community, and empowerment. What truly defies Dr. Jeffries, however, is his unwavering courage. The courage to stand firm with his truth, and the courage to speak out when it matters most. Those values continue to guide his work and his mission each and every day. Today, Dr. Jeffries serves as the president and CEO of Embrace Boston, the visionary organization behind the powerful Embrace Memorial at Boston Common, a symbol of unity, resilience, and the power of community. It is my great privilege to introduce to you a man whose impact is profound and whose dedication is unwavering. Army veteran, social justice leader, and trailblazer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Imari K. Paris Jeffries.
Good morning, everyone. I decided to walk on the bottom because I didn't want you to see me trip on the stage. That would be a way to start off a Veterans Day. How's everyone doing this morning? I'm so honored and humbled to be asked to be here this morning to kick off this Veterans Day. But instead of a talk, I decided, let's pretend we're back in the late 70s, early 80s, and your favorite relative has gone to an exotic place and they came back with their slides. And so we're just going to have a conversation. I'm just going to show some slides. So we're just going to be in conversation with each other. Is that all right? All right. I want to start off by shouting out Senator Domenico, Representative Garcia, our city council members, our superintendent, our fire and police chief, our city manager, and my cousin, Juan Carlos, who's somewhere over here. Where's Juan Carlos? He stepped out for a second. And my little cousin in the front, for inviting me here today. It's such an honor to be in a place of my family and my relatives, and to be in community, especially in a day like this. I was thinking as I was walking over in this amazing 7-degree weather in this most joyous city on this special occasion. What a wonderful joy it is for me to be here today. You know, one of the things about being a veteran is that you get to do something while you're in the service, and you get to be something else oftentimes when you leave. One of the things that I always wanted to be was a stand-up comedian. I'm not that successful at it, but I'm going to try to do some dad jokes. I get the feedback every day in my house.
You're starting off great.
They stopped me already. They say no dad jokes. How's that sound? They're trying to shut my stand-up comedian career down already. Memorial Day is a day that some of us veterans like to remember those who we served alongside of as ancestors. Veterans Day is something else. It's where we remember and celebrate all veterans. One of the traditions I love as a veteran is the 10% discount at my favorite restaurants and meeting new people who want to take me out for lunch. So if you know a veteran, please spend the day and take them out to lunch and thank them for their service. Thank you to all the veterans in the room. Can we give it up to the veterans and their families? When we look at nature, especially on a day where in the middle of November, 70-degree weather, especially at a moment like this, when we're thinking about the end of an election season, this change in the nature, I'm oftentimes reminded of how important nature is. Nature is the blueprint for our lives. It is the roadmap to how all of us literally exist. As we reflect on the recent election, we're reminded that democracy, like nature, is alive when it is diverse, resilient, and inclusive. Democracy isn't a set of structures or policies, it's a living, dynamic process. And after elections, we get the opportunity, like if you have any houseplants, how many of you have houseplants? Some of you. How many of you are successful houseplant parents? Some of y'all didn't raise your hand on that second one. I know that some of you are constantly in a situation where you're buying new houseplants. But you have to work on it. You have to not water it so much. You have to know when to water it. You have to know when it needs sunlight and when you need to take it out of the window. This election reminds us that the delicate strength of our interdependence urges us to safeguard and cultivate it in order for it to grow stronger and anew. I want to share a story about the biosphere. You guys might have seen the biosphere before. How many of you have seen the biosphere? It was an experiment that they were trying back in the late 80s, early 90s. They were trying to see if they could create an environment where people could live in this environment, where there were trees and there were nature surviving in this environment. And one of the interesting things that kept happening when trees got to a certain size, a certain amount of weight and girth, they just fell over. Like these mature trees just fell over. And one of the things that the scientists realized from these maturing trees just falling over, you guys know why they just fell over? They were trying to figure out, they were racking their brains. They were like, is the nutrition, it was the ground, were we watering them too much? You guys know why they fell over? Space, that's a good one. They were tired. Yeah, sometimes I fall over when they're tired. You should see my living room right now. They fell over because there was no wind in the biosphere. And so in nature, like human beings, trees need wind. They need stress. They need tension. They need something pushing and pulling to strengthen their roots. These trees fell over because there wasn't the adequate amount of stress to make them stronger, to make them whole. In a way, our democracy is like trees. It needs friction. It needs wind. It needs stress. The struggles, debates, protests, moments of resistance, they're evidence that the system is alive. Instead of tearing us apart, this wind, this stress, it strengthens our roots, allowing us to grow resilient, adaptive, in a unified society. And so in front of you, the next slide, you'll see some trees. I mean, this is the amazing thing about the next slide about trees is that, you know, while they're these living organisms, they're also these amazing pieces of art. Something happens when trees grow organically, something occurs called canopy shyness. Naturally, without any grooming, without any support, they just make space for each other. And it's amazing when you look up at trees, it looks like art, it looks like painting, it looks like an image, but they make space for each other. Trees form these invisible boundaries where their branches let sunlight filter through to the smaller trees, to the saplings, to the newcomers, to the immigrant trees, making light, making space, ensuring that they have the nutrients that they need. These mature trees, there's no need for them to, you know, they're big, they're strong, they've been here for a while. There's no need for them to make space. They get all the sunlight, they get all the water. But it's important as an ecosystem that they make that space. This respect for space is a lesson we too, as communities, can draw from. Just as trees make room for light and create space for smaller, more vulnerable trees to thrive, we too must embrace the roles, like veterans, as protectors. In democracy, protecting and supporting one another creates conditions for communities to truly grow. It fosters a society where everyone has space to flourish and no one overshadows each other. And so just these next couple of slides, you see the nature in different types of forests where this canopy shyness occurs. And so this natural ecosystem of making space. And nature is much like art. Its beauty, its simplicity, its complex forms, it speaks to us, modeling a balance between strength and fragility. Nature heals in the same way that art does. It reaches out to us, inviting us to pause, to reflect, to find something of ourselves in the intricate details. Both in nature and art, there is a sanctuary, a reminder of the vastness beyond us and the connections within us. And you know, the interesting thing about trees and nature that we can learn from, especially in this democracy and especially in this 70-degree November weather, that beneath the trees, in the forest floors, there's also another network, this silent, unseen network, which is also like our democracy, where trees, when they're together in the forest, their roots connect. Again, same purpose. It's a communication system. It's this common language that trees speak to each other. It's a way for the trees that are on the outskirts, that may not be in the focus area of the sunlight or the rain, get the nutrients they need, and for the smaller trees and the big trees with the larger roots, where they might get the best and the most water and nutrients, there's always a way for them to share, to ensure that this ecosystem is taking care of the most vulnerable. Much of what we know about a democracy, that our role as veterans and as citizens and residents and neighbors is to take care of each other. We cultivate communities that thrive on solidarity and shared purpose. When we acknowledge and tend to the quiet connections that all of us have, we're building bonds to make us more than just individuals living side by side, because oftentimes you would think a tree functions in that way. But we're a living network. We're a community. We're rooted in each other. The senator talked about this. We're rooted in each other, growing together in ways far beyond the eyes can see. You know, I think about moments of democracy. This was the anniversary of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And because I built a monument with the team of Embrace folks and many of you in this room to honor Dr. and Mrs. King. I oftentimes think about Dr. King in times like this, on Veterans Day, when we think about community. And I just want to read this quick line. In a real sense, all life is interrelated. All men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are who you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. This is an excerpt from King's letter from the Birmingham jail. You know, we're in a moment, especially during election times, we saw a lot of images, especially with social media, as one of the key tools for communicating with communities. We're in a moment where symbols meant to honor veterans are often used to divide and break us down. Monuments are more than just stone and steel. They're symbols that shape how we see ourselves and one another. Did you know that there are currently 721 Confederate monuments still erected in our country? 721. They're scattered in our public spaces. They cast long shadows over our collective memory. They hold on to a history that many would rather leave unexamined, a history that separates us rather than divide. These statues influence our sense of identity and community, subtly suggesting who belongs and who does not belong. Again, I mentioned earlier there's 741 monuments honoring Confederate leaders, and it's exciting to be in a school that honors a vet. But there are 201 schools, 104 counties, 104 parks, 38 buildings, 7 commemorative license plates, 7 waterways, 6 bridges, all named after Confederate leaders. And so on some of these slides, you see that there were 10 military bases named after Confederate leaders. 10 military bases. Could you imagine in the Civil War, the folks fighting to preserve this union, if they were to, the veterans and the families were to come back and discover that there were military bases named after the leaders who fought on the opposing side? Those military bases are fortunately changed, but we have some work to do. Before we go to the next slide, since we're in a school, we're going to do a little pop quiz. You guys ready? Is that all right? Can I do a pop quiz? Where's the superintendent? Am I sanctioned to do one pop quiz? Okay, one pop quiz, superintendent. All right, so I'm going to ask a question, and just a show of hands, I'm going to give, it's a multiple choice question. You'll have an opportunity to vote at the end. If I were to ask you who were the 3 most memorialized people in this country, and there'll be 3 choices. I'm going to give you the choice, and we'll vote at the end. First choice will be A, George Washington. A, George Washington. B, Abraham Lincoln. B, Abraham Lincoln. Or C, Martin Luther King Jr. So A, George Washington. B, Abraham Lincoln. And C, Martin Luther King Jr. All right, show of hands, and this is going to be self-proxied, so if you see someone not raising their hand, you know how well they did in school. They were waiting on others to see what they did. All right, so if you think it is A, George Washington, show of hands. All right, we've got a good crowd, George Washington. B, Abraham Lincoln. A few A's. Or C, Martin Luther King Jr. Awesome. All right, next slide. This is the 50 most memorialized people in the country. And so if you were an Abraham Lincoln, let's give it up for them. Someone was paying attention in history class. So Abraham Lincoln was number 1. George Washington is the second most memorialized person. It makes sense that Abraham Lincoln and George Washington would be neck and neck. And so, you couldn't go wrong, father of our country. Number 3 is Christopher Columbus. Number 4 is Martin Luther King Jr. So you weren't wrong if you chose Martin Luther King. He's top 4. But we'll scoot over 2 over. And that's at number 6. So the number 6, the 6th most memorialized person in our country is Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee is the 6th most memorialized person in our country. If we were playing Monument Bingo and we were going down a row underneath Christopher Columbus, that is Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederacy, is the 12th most memorialized person in the country, and right next to him is Stonewall Jackson. And so again, in playing bingo still, if we were to go down all the way to the bottom row, underneath Martin Luther King Jr., in 2024, 2025 language, we will refer to that person as a domestic terrorist. Nathan Bedford Forrest, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, is the 43rd most memorialized person in our country. If all of a sudden every single American were to disappear and anthropologists were to do a study of our American society just based on our monuments, I don't know about you, but this would not be the American story, especially on Veterans Day, that I know that we know about our country. Next slide. And so if you think about the elections and you think about the role in which monuments have an impact on how we think about ourselves, monuments serve as billboards to values. It is no wonder in the states that have laws that prohibit marriage equality, that prohibit reproductive justice, that prohibit some things teaching in schools, are the same states that have the most Confederate monuments. But like trees, we have an opportunity to build this interconnected network. What if instead of building monuments that divide us as Americans, we built monuments that brought us closer together? We built monuments that refreshed our values. We built monuments to love. I want to just play a quick excerpt of a video just to talk about, just to illustrate the monument that all of us have built together just right up the street called The Embrace. So we'll play this video.
To be unveiled later this week in Boston.
Racial equality will be unveiled in America's oldest public park, Boston Common.
I had a vision for it.
It's called The Embrace. And to design it, Hank Willis Thomas pored over hundreds of images of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King.
There was an intimacy that I saw that wasn't really highlighted often. Often when you do look closely at pictures, they're holding each other's hands.
One photo in particular got the sculptor's attention. The reaction when Reverend King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964.
I just love that image. Him hugging her with such glee and such joy and such pride. I saw the pride in her face. And I recognized that this was teamwork. And all of his weight in that picture is like on her.
For Martin and Coretta, service wasn't just an action or a path to a just and compassionate society. Service reminds us that democracy isn't an ideal. It's a daily practice of showing up for each other, creating something greater than ourselves. ensuring that there is space for all of us to thrive and get the nutrients that we need. In serving others, we create a world where everyone is valued and where we can illuminate our shared humanity. When a fire sweeps through a forest, it isn't the end, it's the beginning. The forest always grows back, often stronger, more diverse, with new life rising from the ashes. But like the forest, we rise from these challenges, we rise from ashes, stronger together. Like a resilient forest, a resilient community faces hardships. It needs that wind. It needs that tension. Resilience is the heart of the beloved community. It endures and it thrives. On Veterans Day, this idea of resilience and unity takes on more weight. We are living in a country where deep divisions on policies, politics, race, class, identity, threaten to tear the fabric of who we are. And in this landscape, the call for service to a duty greater on ourselves feels more urgent now more than ever. Dr. King's vision of a beloved community wasn't just a dream. It was a response to division, a call for us to build something strong enough to hold us together through our differences. Veterans, we understand this. For those of us who've served, we served with people who came from different walks of life, different communities, different neighborhoods, and some of them are our lifelong friends. People who we have nothing in common, but everything in common. As veterans, as service people, as Americans. They remind us that democracy requires sacrifice and that freedom is a shared responsibility. In this time of fragmentation, it's up to us to look to nature, to find a way back to each other. We honor veterans by remembering and serving each other, both abroad and domestically. We choose unity over division, community over isolation. It's time to make our democracy whole again. Thank you.
I think that deserves another round of applause. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeffries. We will be inviting you back to Chelsea more often, so it's deeply appreciated that you are here and for that presentation. So thank you again. I want to just mention before I call up our speaker for the closing remarks, I just wanted to recognize also Frank Henry, who is with the School Department Buildings and Grounds. He was instrumental in helping us put all this together. Thank you, Frank Henry, and the staff. And although the program does say 11 to 1, please don't rush and, chew and screw. Please hang out and talk and just, Frank's going to allow us to stay a little longer, right, Frank? Thank you. And I also wanted to recognize, just in hearing the words unity and bringing people together, Joan Cromwell and the Chelsea Black Community, CBC. Israel, always great to see you, and always so supportive. Our speaker to offer our closing remarks. We are honored to welcome a lifelong champion of Chelsea, a proud veteran of the United States Army, and the senior-most member of the Chelsea City Council. Please welcome Leo Robinson.
Thank you, Tracy. Even though it says it's closing, so we're really not closing. Just want to say that after me there will be somebody to follow me, the Quinteri. But just very briefly, I know that the superintendent talked about the wives of the soldiers. during my service for Vietnam, 11 Chelsea friends didn't make it home, and their mothers became Gold Star mothers. I think, as a city, just think about 11 soldiers from Chelsea that didn't make it home during that Vietnam War. And something we all should keep in mind when we're celebrating Veterans Day. And also, this site that we're at today used to be Chelsea High School. And here was the gym that they used to call the cigar box. And as you can see, Chelsea has built our new schools with the help of leadership through the years with all the different city managers and people like Maury Siegel, who the school was actually named after, was also my junior high school math teacher and a friend for many years. And actually, I just want to salute all the veterans. I want to thank everybody for coming here and spending time with the veterans. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friends from Chelsea High School, the Conteri, that will be playing the fight songs. So please stay and take in the Conteri sing-along.
When you hear your service song called, veterans, please rise so we can recognize you. Thank you.
U.S. Army. U.S. Navy. U.S. Marine. U.S. Air Force. U.S. Coast Guard.